Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Maker Mondays with Cleveland Public Library and the Great Lakes Science Center. My name is Joy, and I will be your scientist for today. And together, we're going to see if we could answer the question, what if we could go to space? So, does anyone want to be an astronaut? I think being an astronaut would be pretty cool because you get to go up into space and explore all sorts of things that we don't necessarily get to see on Earth. So what kinds of things would you want to explore if you went out into space? There's a lot to see. So I really think that stars and planets are super duper cool. I would want to go out to Saturn and see if those really big rings look as cool out in person as they do in pictures. And I really like constellations. So if I could go deep out into space and see all those constellations, that would be pretty cool. Now, I know they're super big, so I'd have to travel a lot to see every single star. But I think it would probably be worth it. So is there anything out there that you want to explore? Think about it. And when we do our Maker project in a little bit, maybe we'll be able to design something that'll help you explore that special thing in space. So someone else who asked the question, what if we could go to space, was Dr. Mae Jemison. Now, she has loved space and science ever since she was a little girl. And what's really cool is she ended up becoming the first African-American woman to go to space. Now, she entered NASA's astronaut training program in 1987 and then flew on the Endeavour out into space in 1992, which is pretty cool. So this book right here, Mae Among the Stars, was written based on her life and her as a little girl wanting to explore space. So has anyone ever heard this story before? I know, let's read it together and see what happens. So, Mae Among the Stars by Rhoda Ahmed, illustrated by Stasia Burrington. Let's see. Little Mae was a dreamer. They say that daydreamers never succeed, but little Mae was different. One day, Mae was working on an assignment for school about what she wanted to be when she grew up. What will you tell them, Mae? I will tell them I want to see Earth. This is Earth, Mae, her mother said. The flowers, the grass, the forest, and the mountains. We live on Earth. I know, but I want to see Earth from out there. That's an amazing plan, little Mae. Then you have to become an astronaut. That way you can see Earth from space. Astronaut? Do you think I could do that? Of course you can. If you can dream it, if you believe it, and work hard for it, anything is possible. Mae asked her mom to take her to the library. She searched for books about space and astronauts. So you can do that now. You can go to any library you want, go to Cleveland Public Library and see if you can find your own space books just like Mae. That'd be fun. After dinner, Mae drew pictures of space. And she even made her own astronaut costume out of old orange curtains and cardboard boxes. Later, she asked her dad, "But how do I become an astronaut? It seems impossible." You will find your way, Mae, because if you dream it, believe in it, and work hard for it, anything is possible. But space is so far away. It's closer than you think, little Mae, and you may get there sooner than you think. That night, Mae had a happy dream. She was dancing in space, surrounded by billions of sparkling stars. Below her, she could see Earth floating and turning like a shining crystal ball. The next morning, Mae told her parents about her dream. She wanted to tell everyone, and every time she talked about it, her eyes would light up. In the classroom, Miss Bell told everyone to stand in a line on the rug. Today, we are all going to share our dreams about the future. What do you want to be, and what do you want to do when you grow up? Who wants to go first? I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a teacher. Football player. I want to be a mom. And I want to go to space. I want to be an astronaut. All the kids started laughing. Miss Bell asked, Mae, are you sure you don't want to be a nurse? Nursing would be a good profession for someone like you. I don't want to be a nurse. I want to be an astronaut. Mae felt very disappointed. On her way home from school, Mae was quiet. She looked out the car window. Her world turned blue and cold, and nothing was the way it used to be. At home, Mae started crying. Miss Bell said I can't become an astronaut. What a silly thing to say, said her mother. She told me I should be a nurse instead, said Mae. Her mom wiped away her tears. My dear Mae, I hope you didn't believe her. Of course I believed her. She's my teacher. I'm sorry Miss Bell didn't encourage you, but she can't stop you. No one can stop you. Follow your dream, Mae, and go into space. Thank you, Mom. I promise when I get to space, I will wave to you and Dad from the spaceship. Her mom took her hand and they started dancing. You must always repeat to yourself, if I can dream it, if I can believe in it, and if I work hard for it, anything is possible. Mae went on dreaming, believing, and working really hard. And guess what? She went to space and waved to her mom and dad on Earth. The end. So, Mae was able to follow her dream and go into space. But she was once a kid who wanted to see if going to space was possible. And did you notice what she did to be an engineer in the story? So engineers make things and they build things. Does anyone remember what Mae built? Let's see if we can find it. Let's see. She wanted to go into space, so she built her very own astronaut suit out of a cardboard box and some orange curtains. So do you think that astronaut suits are normally made with cardboard and curtains? Probably not. But they're pretty good substitutions because I think that this looks like a pretty convincing astronaut suit. So how do you think that real astronaut suits are made? I think they use different materials that are a little bit sturdier, but they're built to protect astronauts, just like this one was. So what types of materials do you think you can make an astronaut suit with? So think about astronaut suits in general. So an astronaut suit needs to serve a few different purposes. So if you go out into space, there's some dangerous things. For example, the temperature might not be how we need it. So humans on Earth do the best when the temperature is not too hot, not too cold. In space, the temperatures can get a little crazy. You know, they may not be the ideal temperature for humans. So there's astronaut suits keep them safe and keep their bodies at the right temperature to keep them comfortable. Also, we need to breathe. We have a lot of air that we can breathe in our atmosphere, but there's really not any air up in space that we can breathe. So a spacesuit and a space helmet help make sure that the astronauts up in space have enough air that they can breathe. Also, we need to drink water. The suit and everything holds some water so that way the astronauts can drink. And sometimes when you're out in space, there's objects that are flying really, really fast, whether it's rocks or dust or other types of debris, they could go flying past you at any moment. So the space helmet sort of gives the astronauts some protection from that. Because, getting hit in the head with, a flying rock, not comfortable. But having a helmet definitely helps. And also, on Earth, the sun is really, really bright, and it can hurt your eyes. It's even brighter when you are much closer to it, especially out in space. So a lot of space helmets have a really cool thing called a visor that can cover your face. You can kind of see it here. There's this visor right there that protects the astronauts and helps protect their eyes from the sun. Now, real astronaut suits have special material. There's gold in their visors that help keep our eyes safe. So that's pretty cool. Now, we are going to see if we can be engineers and build our own space helmets. Now, engineers, like I said earlier, they make things and they build things and they follow something called the engineering design process. Now, the engineering design process is great because it offers some steps to get started and you can follow them in any order that you want. So you can sit and plan everything out step by step and then think about what would work and what won't, and then jump in and start building. Or you can ask some questions and think, what if I try this? What if I try this? And then go from there. Or you can just jump right in, start building, see what happens, and then figure it out as you go. And all of those methods of using the engineering design process and building are okay. Everybody learns differently, everybody works differently. And that's how we get lots of different results and lots of different designs. And different designs are fantastic. But the one thing that all engineers have in common on their engineering design process is they all circle back and improve on their designs. So things don't always work perfectly the first time, and that is completely okay. It's important that we improve and keep learning, because if we just gave up after the first time something goes wrong, we wouldn't learn and we wouldn't think this is how it works. So improving is very, very important in the engineering design process. And I know sometimes it gets frustrating when things don't work exactly how you want them to, exactly when you want them to. But that means that you're trying and you're discovering what does work, what doesn't work, and maybe why it doesn't work, which is great. So we're going to take all these steps and see if we can make our very own space helmet that we might be able to use if we could go to space. So you can go ahead and get your materials out. I'm going to build along with you. If you have the same materials that I have, awesome. If you don't, that's okay. If you have the same materials I have and you might have something nearby at home or somewhere else that you want to add, go for it. I will say, I don't recommend cutting down your curtains like Mae did. If you ask your grown-up at home, that's one thing. But yeah, do not take any materials or cut anything up without a grown-up's permission. And because we're going to be using some scissors, you may want a grown-up to help you out with this as well. So I'm going to be using, let's see, I have a paper grocery bag. We just got this at the grocery store. It's really important that these are grocery bags because they have a flat bottom and also they fit over your head. And the best helmets fit over your head. So I also have some pipe cleaners, whatever color you want. I picked light blue and magenta because I thought it'd be fun. Let's see, I have scissors. Scissor safety is very important. I've got duct tape. I've got owls because I like owls. And I have flowers because I also like flowers. And I have Ziploc bag. Figure maybe I can see through it. I also grabbed a pencil so that way I can sketch things out because I like sketching things before I do that, before I, build. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can build a helmet. Now, when we're building a helmet, think about what space helmets that you've seen look like. So I'm going to leave this book over here. You can see Mae is wearing a space helmet. So first things first, let's see. I know where I'm going to start. I'm just going to put this bag. I'm going to see if this bag is ready to be a helmet now. So let's see. Well, it fits on my head, so that's good. Slight problem though, I can't see because it's a bag. So already I have failed in assuming that I can just put a bag on my head and call it a helmet without doing anything to it. I think it's missing something. So you can start wherever you want. How do you think I could improve my helmet bag right from the jump if I can't see anything? I think I need to cut out a face hole so that way I can see. I think that's going to be my first step. So think about what does a space helmet need in order to keep astronauts safe? And you can add that to your space helmet. So for me, my space helmet needs a way for me to see what is in front of me. Because I don't know about you all, but I am very clumsy and I crash into doors a lot. And that's with, nothing in front of my face. So I think if I would go out to space, I would definitely need to be able to see where I'm going. So what I did was I just drew a rectangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. Now, I'm being very, very careful with my scissors. Like I said, if you're using scissors, you may want an adult to help you out. Just so that way no one cuts their fingers by accident. If you are already a pro at scissors, I believe in you. But like I said, I'm clumsy. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. If you want to start with this step, go ahead. If there's another step you want to start with, do that. What I hope is by the time we're done making these helmets is that everybody who's making these helmets with me has a helmet that's a little bit different. We'd be the coolest space fleet ever. Start our own space program with our awesome helmets. All right. Cut this out. And the cool thing is, because I put this off, I can use it to build other things on my helmet. So I'm going to test it out now. All right. I can see now. This is exciting. Okay. Step 1 complete. I can see, which is good. All right. So now that I can see, what else do you think we need to keep our astronauts safe? So being able to see is good. Let's see. So we talked about temperature. We talked about protection from flying things that are flying. We talked about sun. We talked about water. I think I'm going to go with oxygen next because oxygen is very, very important. So I want to see if I can use my materials to make something that would carry some oxygen around. Yeah, so as you're building, think about what you need to keep your astronaut or you safe with your space helmet. So I'm thinking I need oxygen. So how can I add something that would carry oxygen? I don't know. I think I'm going to make some oxygen tubes out of pipe cleaners. And the other cool thing about building our own space helmets is we can design them to look however we want. So as you're thinking about what your space helmet needs to keep your astronauts safe, think about what you want your space helmet to look like. It can look exactly like ones from NASA. You can have your own design, combination of the two. I'm going with some like curlicue things because curlicues are fun. And these are going to be my oxygen tubes. So what I did was I poked a hole in the side of my helmet with my scissors. I made sure that my fingers were not on the inside. And I just stuck my pipe cleaner in there. And I'm going to tape it. So then I have an oxygen tube. And I'm going to make sure I do this on the other side too. Because breathing is very, very important. If I can find the end of this tape. There it is. There we go. Maybe I might need to use some scissors. My goodness. Ha! Got it. Tape is hard. Tape is very hard. I'm going to put my oxygen tube in there because, you know, being able to breathe is important. Then I got to put it in the bottom too. And so what I'm doing is I'm figuring out how far I want it to stretch, and I'm just going to put a little X. So that's my strategy. You are welcome to borrow my strategy or come up with your own way to build. But if you don't want to start with oxygen, you don't need to. Think about what else you want your space helmet to have. Just remember, you want to make sure that if you go to space, you are nice and safe and have everything you need. Now, we talked about temperature and the sun and oxygen and water and all of that. Is there anything, if you were to go to space, that you would want your space helmet to have? Maybe you want it to be able to play music, or maybe you want it to be able to take pictures, or you want it to change shape. I don't know. See what you can design and come up with. So I have one oxygen tube now. I think I'm going to do another oxygen tube on the other side, just to keep it even. So I'm going to make a nice curly Q. Nice little curly Q going on. Let's see. I think this will work. It's a space helmet. I'm gonna poke my hole. Woo! Get my tape. Oh goodness. So let's see. Got my tape. I'm gonna tape this in there. Put my curly Q stretched. I don't know. See, I'm struggling with getting my curly Qs to stay. Because pipe cleaners are awesome, but sometimes they have minds of their own. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just sometimes they require a little more finagling. All right, so I got my oxygen tubes right there. So that's some of my safety taken care of. So let's see, what other things are you building on yours to make sure that your helmet is nice and safe? So let's see, I have my nice protection, I have my oxygen. See, I want to know, what kinds of things are you building? I think I need something for water and temperature. So I think I'm going to do a panel on the back of mine that shows what temperature it is and gives me water if I need it. So I am just using the piece that I cut out of the front. And that's a cool little engineering trick. If you need more materials, think about what you got rid of. So like I said, I was just going to put this in the recycling bin, but now I can put it on the back and make something else that follows our astronaut safety with it. So I'm going to make a thermometer that will regulate my temperature. Because out in space, there's not really an atmosphere. It's just kind of open space. So depending on where you are in space, it's either really, really hot or really, really cold. It depends on where you are. So if you're really close to the sun, it gets warmer. And if you're farther away from the sun, it gets colder. So that's why if you think about planets, Mercury and Venus are pretty hot. Mercury because it's right next to the sun. And Venus because it's also very close to the sun and it has really thick clouds. But like Neptune and Pluto, way out far away from the sun. It is not at all hot. It's very cool. So let's see. I'm gonna kind of like make a wave. So this will check my water. I'm gonna put some tape down so that way it stays. Extra careful with my scissors. So this will help circulate water. Now I'm sure that space helmets don't randomly fill with water because that would be dangerous. Being underwater, being underwater in space, maybe not the best, but it can help circulate water through. And then I will have that way if I have a straw or something inside, then I can just drink water whenever I want. So that's my water tube that helps circulate my water through my suit. And, it'll be connected and through everything else. And let's see. I need to do something with this to make a thermometer to measure temperature. So that way it can regulate if it gets too hot or too cold inside of my spacesuit. So let's see. I think I'm going to fold it, make kind of like an accordion fold. That's what I like about pipe cleaners. You can shape them and mold them and make them look kind of however you want. So even if you use your pipe cleaners for the same thing as I'm using them for, you can make them all sorts of fun shapes. Let's see, so this will be my temperature gauge. And I'm going to put that right in the middle. So I have my water tube, my temperature gauge. I'm going to make some lines with my tape. Because if we were in space, this helmet would be A, very fashionable, and B, probably a lot more high tech. So instead of just being pipe cleaner, it would be a gauge. So I'm going to make some lines so that way we can keep more track of temperature. Let's see. So I'm going to just make some lines with the flower tape. Making my lines so that way we can measure the temperature inside my suit. Sometimes the tape sticks to scissors. It's okay. There we go. And I'll put one right there. All right. So I have my water tube that can circulate through. I have my thermometer that can measure my temperature. And that's all on the back. So let's see. How are you guys doing? I think mine's looking pretty good so far. Got my oxygen, I got my water, I got my temperature. But remember I said, because we're engineers, we can design our spacesuit and our space helmets, rather, to look however we want. So I think because I don't work for NASA, I need to, label this so that way instead of saying NASA, it's gonna say who I am. That way, if there's any other friends who happen to be out in space with me, you'll know who I am. So I'm gonna put my name on the front of my space helmet. I'm gonna use the owls because owls are adorable and look how cute they are. So I'm lucky in that my name is only 3 letters long, so it will fit on the front of my space helmet. You can put whatever you want on the front of yours. If you don't want to write anything on the front of yours, you don't need to. I just feel like writing my name because the front looks very blank. So I'm going to put my name on there. Like I said, I have a very short name. I know not everyone's name is short, so it's hard to fit. But yeah, you can put design. Instead, you don't even need to write anything. You can put different designs. You can leave it blank. You can put more stuff, more special features. You can put any of your safety stuff on there. I'm just trying to write my name with duct tape, which is surprisingly difficult because duct tape is rectangular and there are lots of curved letters in my name. So it's going to look very boxy, but I'm not mad about it, so it's fine. Let's see, there's my O. And there's my Y. See, there's my Y. So now my space helmet has my name on it. So I've got a lot of my safety. It has my name, like so. But I want to make sure. So it looks like on this space helmet, it has some tight seals around where the visor would be and where it would be with the suit. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more color to mine because I want it to be able to seal tightly to whatever I'm using as a spacesuit and my visor to help keep the oxygen in. Because, breathing, like I said, breathing is important. Breathing is very, very important. So I'm going to put some tape around this hole. So that way, whatever I use as my visor, if I were out in space, it would keep the oxygen in. Now, I'm not saying put this helmet that you're making does not need to be airtight. In fact, please don't make it airtight because, like I said, breathing's important. But I just think it's fun because it's adding a nice little pop of color. But in space, it does this sort of seal does have a practical application that it helps keep everything nice and airtight so that way it traps the oxygen so the astronauts can breathe, which is very, very important. So I'm just going to put that in there, put a nice liner on there. But yeah, so what other kinds of safety features do you want to add to your spacesuit, to your space helmet? Tape and I, best friends. So yeah, if you're struggling with tape, you have seen me struggle with tape many, many times in the last 10 minutes. So if you are frustrated with tape, you are not the only one struggling. I am also struggling. And I've been using tape for a very long time in my life. There we go. I think I'm getting the hang of it. Let's see. Put my lining on there because it's nice and bright and colorful. Put a little too much on this end. I'm just going to cut that off. It's starting to run into my, oh goodness. And then my tape got stuck on my scissors. It happens. There we go. also just tape my helmet to itself. See, struggling is part of engineering. It is perfectly natural, no matter how many times you have used any material. Sometimes it's just a struggle. And I am learning that scissors and this tape, well, these scissors and this tape are not always the best of friends, or they are the best of friends and never want to be separated, which is okay. I'm gonna make one more part of the lining. Come on, there we go. Put that on there. And then I'll go in and fill in my corners. My fingers are just stuck. Also, I'm learning, even more so than I already knew, tape is really sticky. I have gotten stuck to many parts of tape. All right. Let me get my last corner right there. So I now have my seal that would keep my visor on. Maybe. So I've been talking about the visor a lot. And because remember we mentioned how the visor not only helps keep oxygen in, so I have my space helmet. So right now, it's looking pretty good. I feel very protected from space debris. I have my oxygen tube and my water tubes and my temperature gauge, but I really don't have a visor that's going to protect my eyes from the sun. Now for that, I'm going to use a plastic bag. Now do not put the plastic bag on your head. Don't do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my plastic bag in half, just sort of along the seam. And I'm going to try and use this as my visor. Now, if you want an extra challenge, you can see if you can get your visor to move up and down. So I don't know. I might try it. We'll see. If I can get this plastic bag to cut in half, I will see what I can do. Now, it's very important if you're going to use a plastic bag to not put it right up against your face ever. So you can put it so it's only big enough that it covers your eyes, so that way you have something to protect your eyes. But do not put the plastic bag over your face because we don't want to block our air in any way. Because like I said, like I keep saying, today's lesson, besides what if I could go to space and engineering, is that breathing is important. So I'm just going to cut this in half. And I'm going to see if I can fit it over where my face would go. Now, the good news is because these bags are so big, you should still have plenty of room to breathe. But even so, just to be safe, I'm only going to put this down part way, so that way it only covers my eyes and not my nose and my mouth, so I can breathe okay. So let's see. I'm going to cut this so it's nice and straight. Okay. So I'm going to tape it. I'm taping it on the inside. You can, if you want to add a visor, you can add it wherever you want. Just like I said, do not block your airflow and put it over your face. So I'm going to see if this is enough. Let me get my tape. But yeah, so a lot of real astronaut helmets, like there's ways to like lift the visor up and down. Obviously not in space once you get back into like your space shuttle. So if you can figure out a way to make your visor go up and come back down and be mobile, that is super cool. Beyond grabbing it and just like lifting it, I don't know how personally. So if you can figure that out, do it and let us know, because I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Let's see. I'm going to put another piece of tape in there. And I have my visor that will protect me from the sun's rays, and I left it space for me to breathe. So I have my space helmet. Woo, that keeps falling. So I have made my space helmet. So if I want to lift this, I mean, I suppose I could just lift it straight up and be like, hello, and then put it back down. So this is how I make my visor move. So see, do you think that you can figure out a way to make yours move? Maybe you figure out a way that is much more efficient than my way, although my way works pretty well. So because I put it inside, it kind of stays in place. But remember, I still have this empty space, so that way I can breathe okay. Then I can lift it up and put it back down. So I made my space helmet. And I made my space helmet so that way it covers a lot of the safety. It's a helmet, so it'll protect me from space debris. It's got its oxygen tubes. It's got a water tube. It's got a temperature gauge. It's got a nice seal, so that way if I were in space, the oxygen would stay inside my helmet. And I have a visor that I can lift up and put back down, but while making sure that I still have room to breathe. Now, if I were in space, this would be completely covered because the oxygen would be inside the helmet. But just to be extra safe on Earth, I'm going with this design. So, how are your space helmets looking? Do you think they're astronaut ready? I think we can go to space and blast off and go and explore as far as we want to. So, we have now built our very own space helmets, just like Mae did, and we just might have gotten ourselves one step closer to being able to go out into space. But like I said when I was reading the story, if you want to learn about going into space now, go to your library. There's tons of books about space and astronauts where you can learn all sorts of stuff about what you might want to explore. So you all did a fantastic job today learning about space and being engineers and making our very own space helmets. So make sure you join us next week for our next installment of Maker Mondays, where we're going to learn a little bit more about a cool engineering project and see what else we can make. So keep working on those space helmets. Keep thinking about what you might want to explore if you go out to space. And then maybe when you're at home, you can put that space helmet on and go on your very own space adventure. So keep creating, keep thinking about space, have fun, and until next time, stay curious.